Good morning, boys and girls. Am I live? Yes, I am live. All right. Hey, boys and girls. I hope you had a great spring break and a happy Easter yesterday and got some rest and relaxation. So we're back to our school to distant learning, starting back up this week. And I have our read aloud for today. And it's going to be about frogs. So we're going to read a nonfiction true story about frogs today. The author is Elizabeth Carney, down here. It doesn't have any other names, so I'm going to guess that maybe she's also the photographer. So remember, we don't have an illustrator this time. We have a photographer because it's going to be real pictures with true facts, true information about frogs. All right, there's my title page, frogs. All right, this has lots of information about frogs. Splash. Splish splash, what is that sound? It is hopping and jumping around. What loves to swim? What loves to eat bugs? It's a frog. Can you hop like a frog? All right, and this type of frog, it's got its name underneath it. It's labeled the picture, and it's called a Pacific chorus frog. And then it's got a question down here. Okay, so I'm going to read you. Oh, it's a joke, actually. Are you ready? What happened to the frog's car when it broke down? What happened to the frog's car when it broke down? What do you think? All right, the answer's upside down, so I got to turn the book upside down. It got towed. Toad. A toad is like a frog. It's a little bit different, but it's like a frog. That's hilarious. And then toad can also mean when your car breaks down, you have to call the tow truck to come and hook it up to his truck, and he drives it away to the mechanic to fix it. That is so funny. Hey, there's those multiple word meetings like we're going to be doing this week. Frogs live all over the world except in Antarctica. Frogs usually live in wet places. They like rivers, lakes, and ponds. All right, here's a frog called a marsh frog. Okay, this one up here is a red-eyed tree frog. We have tree frogs in Georgia. Mr. Jared used to live out in the country, and where his mom and dad lived, and when we would go visit them, we would hear tree frogs all the time. You've probably heard some too. But some frogs live in trees, like the tree frog. Some even live in the desert. Look at that one hiding. That's a bullfrog. Frogs can be found all over the world. Wherever they live, that is called their habitat. Okay, so then up here, it's got a special word. All right, it says ribbit, but then it tells us it's got a dark, bold word. Remember, we talked about those before in some of our other nonfiction books. When it has a bold word, we need to read it because it's going to give us either some new vocabulary or tell us something new we may not have known before. So a habitat is the natural place where plants or animals live. So a frog's habitat is where they live. So instead of saying it's where he lives, you can say it's his habitat. All right, and it said that they live everywhere except for Antarctica. And then now down at the bottom, it's reminding us that Antarctica is the continent or the big piece of land at the South Pole. The white land at the South Pole, it's always looks white on the globe to show that it's covered in snow and ice. Look at this frog croaking. It says croak. Some frogs' throats puff up when they make sounds. Each type of frog makes its own sound. So, all right, can you see his neck there? He's croaking. This is called a lake frog. Okay. This one over here is, I don't know how to say that. Let's see if it'll tell me. Oh, good. It did. Coqui. It's called a coqui frog. This coqui frog is named after the sound it makes. It sounds like coqui. This frog is the size of a quarter. Ooh, that's really small. Even small frogs can make loud noises. All right, so it's telling me what a croak is. A croak is the deep, hoarse noise that frogs make. So a croak is the sound a frog makes. All right, and this one, Koki, is a small frog, but he still makes a loud noise. Frogs make different sounds for different reasons. Sometimes it's to warn other frogs of danger. Sometimes it's to call frogs that are nearby. This frog, you see him? He looks silly, doesn't he? He's called a dancing frog. Let's find out why. This frog lives around noisy waterfalls. Other frogs would not be able to hear his call, so they can't hear each other. So instead, he dances. It sticks out one leg and then the other. Can you dance like this frog? All right, let me see. Show me your best dance. Your best frog dance. Can you dance like the frog? Yeah, I bet you can. Frog food. Let's find out what they eat. What do you think a frog eats? Take a guess. All right, let's find out. Ready? What is a frog's favorite food? Usually it's insects. So insects are bugs, okay? Frogs eat dragonflies and crickets and other bugs. All right, do you see this green frog here? He's got himself a dragonfly for his breakfast or his lunch or his dinner. Some frogs eat bigger animals like worms and mice. I don't even know that I knew that. I thought they just ate insects. The American bullfrog, oh, listen to this. The American bullfrog even eats other frogs. Oh no. I bet he doesn't have a lot of friends. All right, so up here, this is called an Amazon horned frog up here, and he's eating some type of, looks like a rodent, probably some type of mouse. And there's your American bulldog down here. Do you see him eating another frog? Oh, I wouldn't want to be friends with him. All right, are you ready for a joke? We got a joke on this page. All right, why are frogs so happy? Why are frogs so happy? All right, are you ready for the answer? I'm going to turn it upside down. They eat what bugs them. Oh, that is silly. All right, so there's some things they eat. Insects like crickets and dragonflies. Some even eat worms and mice, and some even eat other frogs. Oh no. What's that pink flash? It's how a frog catches its bugs. It shoots out a long, sticky tongue at a passing bug. The frog pulls the bug back into its mouth. So it goes out real fast, comes back. If your tongue were as long as a frog's, it would reach to your belly button. Oh, I didn't know that either. How crazy is that? All right, stick out your tongue. All right, can you imagine if your tongue reached all the way down to your belly button? That would be crazy, huh? I'm glad my tongue's not as long as that frog. All right, this one is called a green tree frog. A green tree frog. Every size and color. Frogs can be many different sizes. The smallest frog is as big as your fingernail. The largest frog is as big as a rabbit. Whew. So here's the smallest one. It's as big as your fingernail, and it's called a micro frog. Micro means small. So if it's a micro frog, it's a small frog. Here's the frog that's as big as the rabbit. That is pretty large. He is called, oh, this makes sense. He's called a Goliath frog. Why do you think he's called a Goliath frog? All right, if you know the story, it's a Bible story called David and Goliath. So Goliath was a big, huge giant, and he wanted to fight David. David was a very small shepherd boy. And he was not a soldier or a warrior, but all of the other soldiers and warriors on David's side, he was an Israelite. He was with the Israelites. They were too scared to fight Goliath because he was a giant. Um, and he wanted to fight them, but they were all too scared. David said, "I'm not scared. God will be with me, and He will save me and protect me." So David knew, with the help of God, he could fight Goliath and defeat him and save the people, the Israelites. So David went and prayed and asked God for help, and he got 5 stones, and he got a slingshot, and he took that stone and a slingshot and he slung it, and it hit Goliath right in the forehead and killed him. So Goliath was a huge giant, and so he was huge. He was so tall. He was scary looking because he was so big that it made everybody else afraid. Not David, because God helped him defeat David. And so that's why he's called a Goliath frog, because Goliath was a giant. And so the frog is a giant frog. Did you know there's also a spider called a Goliath spider for the same reason? It's as big as a dinner plate that you would eat off. So think about when you're eating off your plate, all right, that you have at dinner. That spider can be that big. Isn't that crazy? So Goliath frog, a Goliath spider. They're called that because of the giant Goliath from David and Goliath. If you've never read that story, it's great. You should read it. I might have it. Frogs can be different colors too. All right, so tiger striped leaf frog. It says some are green or brown, so this is the tiger striped leaf frog. Okay. Some have stripes or spots. Okay. So others have stripes or spots. This one is called the Amazonian poison dart frog. I think I might want to stay away from that one too. He's got poison. Eek. So some are green, some are brown, some have stripes or spots. Frogs can even be red, yellow, or orange. All right, like this one here. He's red. Red, they can be red, they can be yellow or orange. This is called a red poison dart frog. So there's another one. I want to stay around that one. And some can even be bright blue. These are blue poison dart frogs. So it looks like those dart frogs can be different colors, the poisonous dart frog. Wow. Watch out. These colorful frogs may look pretty, but watch out. These frogs have poison in their skin. Their bright colors warns their enemies, do not eat them. All right, so here's your poisonous dart frog, okay? So just like the ones we read over here, all right, the red one, the blue one, and then the one with stripes, they have those special colors and special spots and stripes on their bodies because their skin has poison in them. So it's trying to warn off their predators who want to eat them, to keep from eating them. Poison, so it's going to give us the definition. What is poison? Something that can kill or hurt other living things. All right, in the top corner is just another poison dart frog, and in the bottom is another poison dart frog called yellow banded. Yellow banded. All right, so we want to stay away from these frogs. So do the other insects. So do the other animals. This little frog is only an inch long, so it's about that long. Its name is Terriblest, which means the terrible one. How did it get this name? It got this name by being one of the most deadliest frogs of all. So even though he's just an inch long, he's teeny tiny, he's one of the most deadly frogs. One Terriblest has enough poison to kill 20,000 mice. Ooh, that is a lot. All right, you ready for another joke? All right, so here's your most deadly frog, Terriblest. I hope I'm saying that right. I might have to double check on that one. All right, even though he's small, you'll stay away from him. All right, here comes your joke. What do stylish frogs wear? What do stylish frogs wear? You ready? This one's funny too. A jumpsuit. Ah, that's funny. A jumpsuit. Because frogs like to jump. So silly. Frog babies. All frogs, even the terriblest, have mothers. Mother frogs lay eggs. All right, do y'all remember that big hard word that means an animal that lays an egg and hatches from eggs? I'll give you a clue. It starts with an O. Oviparous. So they're oviparous. Frogs are oviparous. They lay eggs and hatch from eggs. When the eggs are ready, out pop the tadpoles. All right, so a frog starts out as an egg. They're oviparous, so they hatch from an egg, and then they're called a tadpole. And they look very different from what a frog looks like when they're a baby. Okay, see, can you see it over here? Okay, he's got a tail. Look at that long tail he has. Okay, he looks very different from a frog, doesn't he? Tadpoles are baby frogs, but they don't even look like frogs yet. Tadpoles have tails and they only live in the water. All right, this is the name of this one, this tadpole. It's a tadpole, but he will turn into a Pacific tree frog. So he's a Pacific tree frog tadpole right now, but he will turn into a frog. All right, so they start out as eggs, then they hatch from eggs, then they turn into a baby called a tadpole. Tadpole. Tadpoles grow up to be frogs. First, they breathe underwater with gills like a fish. Okay, so they have to live in the water first. Number 2, then they grow lungs like you and I have for breathing air. Okay, you and I, we don't have gills. Okay, that means when we go under the water to swim, we can't stay under long. We've got to come back up above the water to breathe because we have lungs. Tadpoles and fish, sharks, things that live in the water all the time, they have gills, not lungs. That's why they can stay under the water to breathe. So they start off with gills, then they get lungs, which is very different. A lot of animals don't do that. They either have gills or lungs. Okay, it doesn't change for most animals. That's pretty neat about frogs. All right, it tells me what gills are right here. So let's read about gills. Gills are the body parts on the sides of a fish or a tadpole through which it breathes. All right, so tadpole with gills. Then it gets lungs so it can breathe air like you and me. Then number 3, they grow legs for hopping and swimming. And then number 4, in 3 months, they lose their tail and it's time for them to hop out of the water. They're a full adult frog. So let's see. All right, this one's the bullfrog down here. Bullfrog. This one up here is a monkey frog tadpole. So he's still a tadpole. He's going to turn into a monkey frog. This one down here is a tadpole that's going to turn into a red-eyed tree frog. Red-eyed tree frog. And this tadpole just says tadpole, so it doesn't tell us what it's going to turn into yet. All right, so there's how they turn into a frog. Toads are frogs too. What is the difference between a toad and a frog? That's a great question. Let's find out. All right, frogs. So we're going to read about the frogs on the left side, and then we're going to read about the toad. All right, let's read about the frog. So we're comparing them. This is like when we do our Venn diagram charts in class with the circles. And we put how they're different, and in the middle we usually put how they're the same. Okay, so frogs, some are poisonous. They have teeth in their upper jaw. Their skin is moist, which means it feels wet. Okay, and it's smooth, very smooth. They have long, powerful jumping legs. Most frogs have webbed hind feet. Eggs are laid in a cluster or a group. So they lay their eggs in a group. Their feet in the back are webbed like a duck. That means there's no spaces between their toes. Okay, like our hands and our toes have spaces. We do not have webbed feet or webbed hands. Okay, webbed means there would be no spaces. Okay, like this. So their back feet are webbed. There's no spaces between their toes. Their skin is wet and smooth or moist. Moist means wet. Okay. They have teeth in their upper jaw, and some of them can be poisonous. All right, so that's a frog. Let's see how a toad is different. What is different about a toad? Toads are a type of frog. Frogs spend most of their lives around water, but toads spend most of their time on the dry land. Their bodies are built for where they live. All right, so even though a toad is a type of frog, it stays mostly on the land where frogs can go in the water, Okay? A frog had teeth, remember? A toad does not have teeth. Their skin is dry. It's not wet, it's dry, and it's bumpy, so it's not smooth. So it's the opposite. It's dry and bumpy, where his skin is wet and smooth. So toad is dry and bumpy. They have shorter legs. Toads have shorter legs so that they can walk on the land, it says. And their eggs are laid in long chains. But a few toads give birth to live young. So they lay their eggs in a chain, and then some toads even have babies that are born alive, like you and I were. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I just learned something new. All right, so that's how frogs and toads are different. All right, and then here's some super frogs. Super frogs. All right, this is called a two-faced faker. Two heads are better than one. It looks like he has two faces, doesn't it? Up here, and then down here on his bottom, it looks like he has another face. He's trying to I just lost him. He's trying to make sure that the predator doesn't eat him. He's trying to trick. That's like a trick his predators. It says a fake face fools his enemies when this frog turns around. So it looks like you're looking at his face on both ends. The high flyer. This frog can jump and watch me glide. So it looks like he can almost fly. All right, this frog is called the screamer. The screamer. And it says loudmouth frogs leave their enemies stunned. So when their enemies try to eat them, they scream at them. And it's so loud it scares the enemies or its predators away. And then this one is called the invisible frog. Can you even see him? He's so hard to see. He's camouflaging. He's hiding. It says he's a master of disguise. So he camouflages himself so predators can't eat them. All right. And then on the last page, our nonfiction book has our important words, our bold words that we could come to the back and look. So it's got the one we read with croak, gills, habitat, and poison. So it's got our new words in the back. It tells us what they mean, just like it did when we were reading. All right, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed this nonfiction informational book about frogs. I would love to see you draw me a picture and write at least one sentence about something you learned about frogs. If you can write more, which a lot of you can, I'd love to see as much as you can write, maybe 3. That would be awesome. Our goal that we want to attempt to get to is 3 sentences. So that would be awesome if you could do that. Tell me what frogs can do, something you learned about frogs from this story. Draw a picture, write me at least 1 sentence if you can. All right, if you can write 3, try to write 3. I miss you. Have a great day. Bye.